Well, what is up, everybody? It's Cool Hand Steve. I'm back here with another YouTube video. It has been a little over a week since I've uploaded, pretty much since the Knicks won the title. I did take a little vacation, but I am back, and I'm back at it with some more videos and shorts for y'all. So this one is going to be talking about the NBA offseason, what's transpired so far since the day the Knicks won their first title since 1973. Let's go ahead and get into it. So as I'm sure you guys know, the Knicks had that celebration there in downtown New York City a couple days after the championship winning game against San Antonio, Game 5. Of course, that was a couple weeks ago. Crazy parade. You really saw New York really come together those last few days since the Knicks won the title. All the videos on social media of New Yorkers celebrating in the streets and setting off fireworks, setting off a couple other things as well, buses and things like that. But no major reports of anybody passing away or things like that. A couple people got seriously hurt, but kind of normal riot stuff. But crazy celebration. Over 2 million people showed up for the parade. That's the most in a while. So it kind of also shows the power of what you see from these big market teams. Usually, when you look at the chart of like how many people showed up to those parades, the bigger market teams tend to have more show up on average, which is to be expected, but especially for the Knicks, because it's the first in a long time. So New York was turned up, and they deserved it. It's been a long time. Obviously, sorry to any New Yorkers or any fans watching this, but yes, they're very, very rabid and passionate about their teams, to the point where a lot of people think that they're a bit abrasive. That's not totally false, but they love their team. There's no doubt about it. And it's been such a long time coming for the Knicks. They've had so many heartbreaking moments to note of. So for them to finally erase all that away with this incredible, miraculous series, winning the championship over the Spurs, I can't say they don't deserve it. They absolutely do deserve it. So kudos to New York, kudos to the Knicks players for a job well done. And then, of course, after that, as we usually see at the end of the regular season, they came out with the betting odds for the favorites to win the title next year. And the Knicks opened up, I believe they're either tied for the third spot or then fourth, as far as the favorites to win the title. I know the Spurs are first, the Thunder were second. I believe they're either tied third with Boston, or Boston was just ahead of them. So I would agree with that. I would say the Knicks are definitely one of the front runners. I would give them the nod over Boston for that front running spot in the East, just off the strength of A, they're defending champions, and B, they beat Boston 2 years ago in the playoffs. So I would give them that advantage. That's about right. I don't know if I put them ahead of OKC or San Antonio, because both of those teams have strong claims that they will be able to beat the Knicks, even though obviously they did not do that this year. So that's about right with me. I don't have too much of an argument with that. But with these next few trades I'm about to talk about in a minute, I think those odds may have shifted a little bit, even though I don't think it affects the Knicks. And y'all, that's because we have got to get into some of these trades and these free agent moves that have already happened in the offseason so far. And of course, we're going to start with the biggest fish that was landed. As of course, I'm sure you heard by now, but for those of you who haven't, the Miami Heat were the ones that landed Giannis Antetokounmpo from the Milwaukee Bucks. They also got Bobby Portis in the trade. The Heat ended up trading away Tyler Hero, Jaime Jaquez Jr., Khalil Ware, 3 first-round picks, including this year's, and some other compensations to the Bucks as well, future second-round picks, this and that. So big trade. Really, the question is, okay, how much better does this make the Heat? It makes the Heat better for sure. And obviously, this means the Bucks are rebuilding a bit, even though they had the 10th and the 13th pick to go along with this haul that they got. From what I've heard so far, they're trying to shop Tyler Hero, but I don't know how true that is. But the real question is, how much better is this going to make Miami? I will say that I've always thought Giannis kind of fit that culture, that Heat culture that Miami has. It just seems to be the way that he approaches the game. He goes all out 100% every night. He's always in great shape. He's just not, in terms of his physical conditioning, and his appearance. Now, the injury history is a whole nother issue. He's missed, I think he only played 30-something games last year. Even a couple years before that, he's had to miss either the playoffs or parts of the playoffs, and that's really hurt the Bucks' chances to go back to the finals because he hasn't been available. So how much will that change down there in South Beach? That we'll have to see about that. Now, really, Boston was the other team that was primarily in play to get Giannis in the trade. And I think from a basketball sense, that may have been the better fit in terms of him wanting to win another championship soon. We had to look at, Giannis is starting to get injury prone, and he's 31, he'll be 32 this fall. So these are things to consider when making this move. Now, he's still in his prime, and he's still going to put up monstrous numbers when healthy. He's at that point where he's unstoppable in that regard. So definitely the biggest free agent or trade acquisition that the Heat have gotten since they got LeBron back in 2011, for sure. But we'll have to see how this all fits. I think the Heat right now are no better than the fourth best team in the East. Perhaps I'd give them third, but that's probably the best case scenario. I wouldn't put them ahead of the Knicks or the Celtics as they're constructed right now. So whereas had he gone to Boston, they'd be the number one team undisputed in the Eastern Conference, in my view. But be it as it may, is a move that needed to get made. His time in Milwaukee, it was great, but it was just coming to a close. It was kind of similar to the Kevin Garnett situation in Minnesota. They just weren't able to get the pieces around him. He's, in his prime, but getting older. And, now he's starting to mount this injury history, like you said. So he's got to take advantage of this chance to, add to his legacy and his resume, get some more awards, and obviously win more championships. He's still able and available to do that as long as he stays healthy. So we'll see. Him and Bam Adebayo will be a great front court there in Miami, that's for sure. We have to see about the other pieces around him. I mean, they got Davion Mitchell, they have Norman Powell, they have Andrew Wiggins. It's a good starting lineup, but it's nothing that I think is a Eastern Conference championship winning roster, much less an NBA Finals winning roster. So there's that with the move to Giannis, but we'll see what moves the Heat make. Pat Riley is a master GM. He's a genius, so who knows? He may have some more tricks up his sleeve. It's rumored they may be shopping Norman Powell, and so we'll see. He'll definitely be in a place where they can get more free agents to Miami. So that part I can't deny. So we'll have to see what the Heat do. But now the other question in this whole scenario is, what are the Celtics going to do with Jaylen Brown? Because it was not a rumor, folks. It's official. They offered him in their trade package to try to get Giannis to come over to Boston. And so it's known by everybody that he was offering this trade. So after the career year that he had, where he was definitely a top 10, arguably a top 5 player this past season, now he sees that the team that he's played for doesn't really want him around like that. And it has to do something to his psyche. I know he had a cryptic message on social media as all this was going down. And so it's obvious. Obviously, it wasn't a direct message, but we all know who that was intended for. And so, yeah. Crazy situation in Boston. So now I think they're shopping him around. I think mostly a safe face to try and make it seem like this is always what they wanted to do. Because I think they're a bit embarrassed that they didn't get Giannis. I thought they thought that they would get him. Obviously, that's not the case. Miami stepped in, made to obviously what the Bucks thought was a better deal. I would have thought that the Celtics would have the better deal, but I think there's a couple of role players reportedly that Boston didn't want to come off of, but they wanted to come off of Jaylen Brown, so make that make sense. It doesn't to me, but that's the situation they put themselves in, so now they got to try to find a way out of the hole, and when they do come out of it, I don't know if Jaylen Brown's going to come out of that situation with them. I think he's now going to be a prime candidate to get traded to. And so now the question is, where to? Because you got to think about his contract situation and all those sorts of things. So whoever takes him might have to take on that money situation as well. So what's going to happen with Jaylen Brown this offseason? We're going to see. Now, the other crazy trade, of course, was that of the Charlotte Hornets and the Minnesota Timberwolves executing a trade to get LaMelo Ball out of Charlotte into Minnesota. Nas Reed goes to Charlotte. Also, there's, some bench players, draft picks being exchanged and this and that. But that's definitely a more shocking development. We pretty much all figured Giannis was going to get traded. But LaMelo Ball, I did not see that one coming. So he will pair up with Anthony Edwards up there in Minnesota. That'll be interesting, to say the least, pairing when it comes to interviews and when it comes to on the floor play. These are two dynamic young guards. Obviously, Anthony Edwards, super athlete. LaMelo can shoot the three, can run the floor, can finish, and is a really good passer. Has really good court vision. Now, sometimes his decision making is, it leaves a lot to be desired. Sometimes he can get too in love with a three-point shot, and he can have some bad shooting nights. So we'll have to see how different that will be now that he has a true bona fide number one option there in Minnesota. I feel like sometimes in Charlotte, LaMelo felt like he had to be that option. He's not going to feel that way, so we'll see how that changes his game a little bit. So it's an interesting pairing, to say the least. We'll see how it works for Minnesota in that loaded Western Conference where everybody's trying to keep up with OKC and with San Antonio. And you got other teams in the mix, the Denvers and the Houstons and the Lakers and stuff. So it's quite a bit to keep up with. Timberwolves, I think they lose a little bit. I think they're going to look a little different next year. Obviously, not only did they lose Nas Reed, but Julius Randle is now with Brooklyn. So they lose a lot of muscle in that front court. So we'll see how different they look next year. But it'll be an interesting watch to see for sure. Now, as far as free agency goes, that's kind of warmed up a bit, but it hasn't truly gotten going yet. But the biggest moves really are the Thunder just re-signed Isaiah Hartenstein to a pretty big deal. It was rumored that he may go somewhere else, but no, he's sticking with Oklahoma City, a team that traded away a couple of their key bench guys. Aaron Wiggins, he's now going to the Hawks. Isaiah Joe's now going to the Pistons. Those two players essentially got traded for more draft picks in the future. So, again, if y'all think Oklahoma City is going anywhere after the Western Conference Finals loss, no. They'll be right back in the mix next year as the favorites or the co-favorites to win the title again next year. And then the other main move really so far has been Austin Reaves re-signing with the Lakers. I believe it was 4 years, $185 million deal for a Lakers team that had the most cap space, actually, of any team in free agency. So that's an interesting development because they're in these talks about, are they going to offer LeBron James what he wants? Or is LeBron going to take a pay cut? Which I don't think is going to happen, and most people don't think it's going to happen either. So the two sides are at a bit of an impasse. There's been reports that LeBron and the Lakers haven't talked yet, really, since the offseason. I can see that being a possibility. So, with the time getting near, are they going to offer him a contract, or are they going to offer him the contract that he wants? And if not, what's LeBron going to do? Where's he going to go? Time's kind of running out on the decision because I'm most likely he's going to come back to play next year. So now the obvious question is going to be where? Is it going to be with the Lakers, or is it going to be with somebody else? And if it's with the Lakers, it's most likely going to be for a lot of money, just like it was last year. And if it's for a lot of money, then we have to wonder, okay, is that going to handicap the Lakers' ability to get other players? Because they got Austin Reaves now tied up in some of that free cap space money that they have now. LeBron takes a huge chunk of that. We're pretty much going to see the same Lakers team next year. And we saw what happened to them in the playoffs this year. So, you can say that was without Luka. Sure, fine. But I'm just going to be honest, as a Lakers fan, I don't think they're being the Thunder with Luka anyway. So, this is kind of what you get. We're going to stick into the experiment with LeBron. The 1 year contract, the 2 year contract. Is he going to come back? Is he going to retire? This is the game that the Lakers admire, and maybe the management's getting a little bit tired of it. So we'll have to see how that transpires in the coming weeks. Now, I would say the one other big free agency signing that I did miss was Trae Young, essentially re-signing with the Wizards. It was 4 years, $212 million. He'll be getting over $50 million a year. Huge numbers. We ain't seen Trae ball out in a bit, though. I would like to see how he fits in Washington with their, and I'll talk about the draft in a bit, but with their new #1 overall pick. Also, you have Anthony Davis, even though I'm not sure if he'll stay and leave, but it's not the worst situation in the world. It seems that they're building in Washington. They got some pieces now. So, huge signing, huge gift for the Wizards to get Trae back there. Really, the other big question with this period of trades and free agency is who's going to be the next one to go? Who's going to be the next big name? With trades, we've already seen, obviously, with Giannis and LaMelo. We've seen, Trae Young and Austin Reaves resign. So who's going to be the next one? Is it going to be Ja Morant? I would imagine it should be Ja Morant, but are any teams interested in Ja Morant? It's probably the bigger question because Memphis has made it clear that they're willing to part ways with Ja and just start afresh and start anew with the rebuild. But they're having a hard time finding some suitors for Ja. Even teams like Sacramento has even turned it down. They're probably the worst team in the league last year. So we'll have to see who's going to find a suitor and if Memphis is going to find somebody that's going to offer a good enough trade package to unload Ja Morant. And then also, you have to consider if it doesn't get to that point, hey, are they that desperate to wash their hands of Ja Morant? Because they're just, not that they give him away for free, but the trade package would be underwhelming. Are they that desperate to get rid of him? Maybe it'll get to that point. It's not looking the best for Ja right now. I would think a team maybe like an Orlando, a Miami. You would think maybe a Brooklyn. Even now the Bulls have like 1,000 guards, but he would be the best of all of them. And they definitely have some that they could give Memphis back. So maybe that could be the move. Not really too many other places. In Minnesota already got LaMelo, so there's that. So he's not playing with Anthony Edwards. We'll just have to count and see. Maybe Charlotte could be the team. But time is ticking and time's kind of running out on that. But we'll see what transpires with that trade. A couple more names that we can keep our eye on is somebody like a Kyrie Irving, right? Is Dallas going to bring him back into the fold? Obviously, he missed all last year with the ACL injury. Are they willing to bring him back in the fold and build with Cooper Flag? But this isn't the same Mavericks team that it was before Kyrie really got hurt. Now it seems to be a team that's more in a rebuild situation. So is Kyrie going to want to go back to that, or is he going to want to go to a team that's a contender as, his injuries start to mount up and he's, 33, 34. So, time's kind of ticking on him as well. Maybe we can look at somebody like a Kawhi Leonard. He's made it clear he wants to stay in LA and finish out in LA. Obviously, we all know he wanted to go to LA so bad he was willing to forfeit, Toronto, basically giving him the whole country of Canada just to have him stay there. So, and that's right after they won a championship. So, I would imagine he wants to stay in LA and finish it out. Do the Clippers want him to stay in LA? Right? That's the big question. So we'll see. I've heard his name in talks as the Clippers may decide they want to hit the reset button. Obviously, the whole Kawhi PG thing just didn't work out the way they thought that it would. Obviously, Paul George has been gone. He's in Philly now. Is it time for Kawhi to go somewhere else? Where could he go? Could it be Detroit? I think Detroit would be the perfect fit for him. They need someone who's a bona fide #1 scorer to take some pressure off of Cade Cunningham's hands. And that's sorely what they were missing last year in the playoffs. He could provide a huge lift, but is he going to want to go to Detroit? Don't know. Questions that need answers, right? So there's a few big names still out there, I even heard that the Rockets are interested in maybe listening to other teams if they want to put it together a package for Alperen Sengun and KD. Could they go somewhere? It's now the realm of possibility, right? So it's a crazy time, and I don't even think that the free agency period and the trade period is even heated up yet. I think it will in the coming weeks, so we'll have to see what happens with all that. And finally, guys, as you know, we had the NBA draft just a few days ago, transpired, and really no big surprises going on with the draft. Not, again, other than the Giannis trade, really wasn't a whole lot of trades going on with picks and certain guys getting traded on draft night. That's usually something we see in the past. We didn't see that this year. Really, the Giannis trade happened before then. So, AJ Bonta, BYU goes number 1 to the Wizards. You have Darren Pearson, the dynamic guard out of Kansas. He goes to the Jazz. Cam Boozer, the son of Carlos Boozer, was the National Player of the Year at Duke. He goes number 3 to Memphis. Caleb Wilson goes number 4 to the Chicago Bulls. And then you had Keaton Wagner, number 5, going to the Clippers, and so on and so forth, as you see on the screen. So this is a highly touted class, probably one of the most highly touted in recent memory, probably the last 10, 15 years. So a lot of these guys balled out in college. Let's see how they do in the pro level. So should be an exciting time. Should be an exciting rookie class. Let's see how they do next year. Multiple future All-Stars, I think, in this group. We'll see who's the best of the bunch. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it for today's video. We're going to stay on top of what's going on during NBA free agency and the trade season as well, and see what other big names swap teams, swap places. So with that being said, like, share, comment, and subscribe on my videos and shorts as always. Y'all could have been anywhere else in the world, but you're here with me, and I appreciate that. So until next time, peace, Cool and Steve out.